Welcome to On the Go with AAUW, the American Association of University Women. I'm your host, Jennifer DeSano, Executive Director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at George Mason University. Our guests today are Jessica Hudson, the Director of Fairfax County Public Libraries, and Ted Cavish, the Program and Educational Services Manager of Fairfax County Public Libraries. Welcome to both of you. Thanks so much for coming on to the show.
Happy to be here.
It's nice to be here.
Good. Yeah. I love the library. I always have. I love books, and I imagine that that's the same, very true for you as well. You probably always had a love for the library. How did you come to be in your current positions? Tell me about your background and where your love of the library came from. You want to start, Jessica?
Sure. I started working in libraries when I was 15. I had a neighbor who worked in our local library in the IT department, and we would talk across our street about books that we had read recently. And when I turned 15, he said, "You should get a job at the library. Did you know that they pay you to be in the air conditioning to talk about books?" And I thought, well, this is my career. I never knew this was an opportunity for me at 15. I was very, very lucky, and I have only ever worked in libraries. I was a shelver. I did circulation, checking out books and taking fines. I helped people with reference questions. I was a library manager, and I'm the director of our local library system. And it's been an excellent journey up until this point. Full of books. Yeah, how about you, Ted?
My first library job was when I was 16. I was a page at our local public library in New York. And I loved it. Again, great job because air conditioning, comfortable, books everywhere. It was a really nice job. So years later in college, I was very interested in art history, and I was looking at maybe getting an art history master's. Discovered the job prospects with that weren't so great. So I had an advisor that turned me toward museum studies, and the same kind of issue existed where the jobs really weren't there. And that somehow led me back to libraries, remembering how much I loved working for libraries. And then next thing I knew, I was going to library school. So yeah, and I worked as a public librarian for many years, 10 years before coming to Fairfax County and getting my first job with Fairfax County Public Library.
Yeah.
And then worked my way up through the branches. I was a reference librarian. I was a popular materials specialist back in the day, so I was in charge of things like reader's advisory and book displays and community outreach and things like this. And then eventually found my way to be program manager for the system, which is a job I adore, running events, and I love it.
And lots of educational programming, and it's an expansive system. You have 22 facilities, 22 libraries here in Fairfax County, and you have hundreds of either volunteers and regular paid employees.
We do.
And you're serving how many thousands of Fairfax County residents?
So we have 22 public libraries, which you think of as a traditional library, where we've got lots of books and computers, programs and meeting rooms. We also have the Access Services Library that serves people who are blind or physically handicapped, based out of the government center. But you're right, our 22 public libraries, between all of them, we've got thousands of volunteers, I think 500 staff and some change, lots of dedicated people who all want to help the library atmosphere to do their part, whether it's a staff member who's paid to help you with your reference questions or hold a story time, our Friends of the Library members who sort books and sell them so that the money comes back to the library for supplemental options, or just our volunteers that come in every day and help us put books away, run our English language learning clubs, or help with computer doesn't work. We have lots and lots of engaged people in the community. And of course, Fairfax County is 1.15 million people right now, and we have more than 400,000 card holders. So we have a large proportion of the population that loves their library just as much as Ted and I do.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, I think of the library, I think of books, right?
We love books.
We do.
Yeah.
Lots of books. Let's talk about books and how they're circulated and some of the programs that you have involved with the logistics of that. And then we can lead into maybe the other part of what the library services is just expansive, and we can talk about those different pieces too. But let's start with The logistics. How do you get the books there? How long are they on the shelves? How do you float them from one place to another? Want to talk about those things?
Sure. So between all of our libraries and what's at home with people right now, we've got about 2.3 million volumes. So a lot of things. And when I say books, I actually mean books, media, DVDs, magazines, all of the things that we circulate for the public. It's not just books. And those are routed between our libraries when you put them on hold. So if your library is the Burke Center Library and the Reston Library has something that you want, you can go online, put it on hold, and we will ship it over to you on a daily delivery truck that we route around between all of our different locations. So as long as it's on the shelf somewhere, it shouldn't take more than a day or two to make its way to you. Of course, we have lots of people who are reading lots of books out there, so sometimes you might encounter quite long hold lists. We had a really funny email from someone recently who they were waiting so patiently for a book, and there were so many people in advance of them. And they said, I think I'm going to be on hold for this book for 20 years.
Oh.
And we said, no, it's not going to be 20
that
years.
long.
We're buying more copies, we promise.
Right.
But we love how patient people are sometimes waiting for their books to come in because they know that these are resources for a whole community and that it might take a little time sometimes with really popular authors.
Right, the latest bestseller is going to have a
Yes.
waiting list typically.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because we don't want to buy so many copies of something that when it's no longer popular, we don't have enough space for it on our shelves. Then we would be bad stewards of our county resources. So books float between locations. They don't typically belong to any one place. So if it's used at the Richard Byrd Library, it'll stay there until it gets pulled to a new home. And that's been really great for us. It's called floating. And it means that each branch and every user that comes in can see different things every time that they come to the library. You have that serendipitous moment where you're in the stacks and you're looking at cookbooks and you think, I've seen every cookbook that the Herndon Library has before. Oh no, wait, I haven't seen this one. Where'd this book come from? That's what we really like about floating. It gives people opportunities. If you're not scanning through the whole online catalog, you can actually see new things that you never thought you'd see before at the library.
It keeps it fresh all the time.
Changes
It
it up.
does.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. So you did mention the Richard Byrd Pohick Library, and I know this facility is very unique and it won a LEED award. Can you tell us about what a LEED award is and
Sure.
some aspects of this unique
Sure.
building?
So we always like to thank the community because we go out for bond measures every 10 to 12 years or so to refresh our facilities. Like any public facility, after 30 years or so, the infrastructure is aging, the wiring's not good anymore, the roof is sagging, and maybe it just doesn't serve the same type of purpose it did 30, 40, 50 years behind. So we go through and we renovate facilities. Our most recent renovation was the Pohick Library off of Sidenstricker. And it was awarded a LEED award, which is a Leader in Energy and Environmental Design. And those are awards that are given to buildings where you take a lot of time and energy to make sure that they're green and socially conscious and that you're doing everything you can to minimize impact when you're getting rid of construction materials or building your entire new space. I think that Pohick was a LEED Silver, which is almost the highest. LEED Gold is the highest. We didn't quite get there with that. But every single renovation we do, we're always attempting to get LEED certification so that we can show the community that we're using your money wisely and we're building you a facility that's going to last another 30 to 40 years. So Richard Byrd was silver as well. Tyson's is our current renovation. It's anticipated to reopen October 14th. And we're aiming for another LEED certification with that one.
The libraries are so bright and vibrant, and the way that they're being renovated and reconstructed these days, it brings in a lot of outside light, and it just makes it a happy kind of engaging space. And that's true of the programming inside the library. You're no longer going to be shushed, or maybe you are, I don't know, when you go to the library to do it. But there are spaces being made for more kind of community building exercises and all kinds of programming. Why don't you tell us a little bit about
There might be a
your
quiet
program?
study room in the branch where you can go for quiet study time, but otherwise, so the library is a very active, fun place. And so there could be story time going on in the meeting room. There could be, or even out in the children's area. There are folks using Wi-Fi, having a meeting at a table, things like that. So we are gathering places where people come to meet, to talk, to find books and information, and to have organizational meetings, for their groups and clubs and things like that, and also to attend programs.
And there's some kind of practical things that you're offering in terms of tutoring services and other a little bit different kind of programming for a variety of people, all different age groups and all different needs. That we can talk a little bit about your early literacy program.
That's a wonderful program. Yes, so we have an early literacy outreach manager, and she has a staff that helps her, and they go out into the community to Head Start classrooms, preschools, home daycare centers, and reach kids that might not otherwise get to the library. And they provide very engaging, awesome early literacy story times. So they not only reach the kids and teach the kids about letters and language and books and all that, provide them with a fun experience as well. It's really, really fun and enjoyable. And they're also teaching the caregivers and the daycare providers and such about how to do that themselves. So it's a really great program.
And I know you have theme-based book bags that people can check out for preschools or a variety of other for the younger audiences.
Right.
What are those book bags?
Those are very
how
cool.
does that work?
So they're put together by the early literacy department, and they'll take several books on a theme, on a particular theme, like baby animals, for example, and then a customer can go into our catalog, find that book bag, and then place a hold on it, and it will be sent to the branch for them to pick up. So it's got a bunch of books, sometimes duplicates of the same book as well, on that theme that they can then use for a story time or programming of their own.
Yeah, and they have, well, when my kids were little, the last day of elementary school, I would have to get in the car and go pick them up, and then we'd have to race over to the nearest library to sign up for the summer reading program because they wanted to get that great coupon book after they read their so many books for the summer. I mean, they wanted to read.
Right.
They wanted to do that too.
Right.
But there was this, and then you got to write your name on a little ducky cutout or what have you and put it on the
Get
wall.
the
And that was
recognition.
all so much fun
Totally.
and it really, really got them into reading, getting them to the library, making them want it, and it was so lovely. You're still doing this program?
Yes, and during the summer months, if they're not in school and they're not reading, they're going to have summer slide, they call it, where they actually lose reading skills. They come back to school in the fall and they're not quite up to speed with where they're supposed to be. So if you keep reading during the summer, you maintain those skills. So that's kind of along with the schools, it's one of our reasons for having the summer reading program.
Well, it definitely works. It works.
Yeah,
It gets them out there, gets them engaged.
And reading's fun.
And they've been lifelong readers too. My children now, they're one's in college, still reading like crazy.
Right.
We have shelves and shelves and shelves full of books, and we hope that most of the time people will just come and pick them up for the love of reading. But we're not above incentivizing reading for children during the summer as
Here's
well.
a prize.
Here's a prize, read a book. And then hopefully that will ingrain a pattern in them. That reading is not only fun because you get this wonderful coupon book with great things you can do in the community over the summer, but also because reading really is fun and you get into a good habit with it. It's a habit-forming practice.
And then for the next age group would be probably teens beyond that or preteens, and then you have huge amount of YA programming as well as access to different authors and books, and a piece of that is Comic-Con and anime and manga and all of those.
Yes. So two wonderful ongoing programs that we do. One is Nova Teen Book Festival. It's usually in March. It's a partnership, big partnership, multiple partners. Arlington Library, the Washington Lee High School in Arlington, us, and it brings together about 20 to 25 young adult authors to the school, and also to other school locations the day before to visit classrooms and libraries to talk to the kids. So teens get to hear their favorite authors, ask them questions, learn about writing, things like this, and it's a great day. And then Comic-Con is also amazing, and that's the next year's is going to be at the George C. Marshall High School in Falls Church, a great location, in April, and that's super fun. So we have a keynote comic writer or artist that speaks. We have vendors, we have food trucks, we have super fun. We have all kinds of workshops and places for all ages really to learn and share about kind of geeky, nerdy things, which is so much fun. I love that sort of thing. So
and we'd be remiss if we didn't say we love serving teens and young adults, and we love it so much that we are carving out spaces in our libraries that are dedicated just to them. So in our newer renovations, POHIC, which reopened in January, not only do we have shelving that's just for young adult books and seating that's just for young adults, so they have their own space, we actually have a whole teen gaming center. So we have flat screen monitors, we have video game systems, the latest and greatest. We've got Nintendo Switches
Super
coming
cool.
in, and you can come in and you can play video games. We're not saying don't be loud. We are saying maybe wear headphones because you don't want to bother everyone around you.
Explosions.
Yes, but come in, use the library for books and studying and all of those wonderful things. But then when you're done, go play a video game too. Because maybe you've got 15 minutes before your parents pick you up and you're done studying. Or maybe you learn differently. And video games are a good gateway for you to get energized around it, and then you can dive into your studies. Whatever it works for you. We've been adding these team gaming spaces to all of our new renovations. So both Tyson's and John Marshall, which is currently closed for renovation, will have those spaces as well.
Excellent, and that will bring in the kids, definitely, yeah. And you have the next cohort of age groups for the adult community. And I know Fall for the Book is one of your partners, and you do some book festival work as well.
Yes. Right, yeah. The libraries, we're a big partner in the festival, and we'll have authors at our branches, and we also support some of the big name authors that appear on campus as well, so, yeah.
It's and that's terrific, because I know that the Friends of the Library supports the Fall for the Book programming. I think, are they supporting the Colson Whitehead speaker this year?
The Friends of the George Mason Regional Library are sponsoring that one. The library is sponsoring Lev Grossman, who wrote The Magician. So cool.
And the Library Foundation is sponsoring
Mohsin
Hamid.
Yes. Oh yeah, East West.
Exit West, and The Reluctant Fundamentalist a few years back, which is also huge.
Right.
Yeah, very big book. Yeah, very exciting.
But many of our friends groups are sponsoring individual tiny programs within their libraries as well. So George Mason is sponsoring one of the larger events that's on the GMU campus. But some of our friends groups wanted to bring more of the programming back to their local branches, and so they are sponsoring events within their own facilities. So I think the Friends of Richard Byrd Library have a program.
Richard Byrd, Pohick,
Yes.
Oakton.
Yes.
Yeah, several branches.
And that's
Bring them all in.
Yeah,
and that's running the week of the festival, and also there are things going on all year round?
All year round, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. In fact, our program, our calendar's over there. Just to give you a sense, I mean, this is like everything happening around the system in a month. This is September's calendar. And I mean, so author visits will happen all during the year, local authors often, book clubs, writers groups, ESL conversation groups, tech tutoring, you mentioned that before, all kinds of cool classes and educational opportunities. Fun new ideas too, like we have a book group that's meeting at a brewery, Books and Brews.
Okay.
So so they read a book and they have some beers and they talk. You know, it's really super fun. And also a new book group that meets at a winery.
Oh.
And for their first meeting, they actually invited Ellen Crosby, she writes mysteries set in the Virginia wine country.
Okay.
And she's to speak about her book and talk to the group about what they read.
Wow, and so do you have, every month you put out this publication?
Yeah, and it's all online too, of course.
Okay, so this is available in your local library. You pick it up on wherever the counter is, and you can get a full month of programming and plan ahead and figure out what you're interested in, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of the pieces in there are reoccurring programs. So we have all of our wonderful story times and early literacy programs, all of our tech tutoring. But a lot of people like the actual print calendars because you can put it up on your fridge, you can circle the things you really want to do. We don't require registration for every type of programming. Some of them are just drop-in, but some of the smaller ones you do need to register, so it gives you a good idea to pre-plan and figure out, okay, I really want to go to this event. There's only 250 seats. I should really sign up right now so that I don't forget about it.
Right.
Yes. And you have a 50-plus program as well. And I run the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, and we've collaborated on a number of programs in the past and will, and certainly in the future.
Yay.
But there's a wide variety of offerings in terms of what seniors have available to them at
I know
the library system.
In Kingstown, there's a book group that meets at the senior, the center next door, the Center for Active Adults next door, monthly. And we have plenty of genealogy programming, gentle yoga, really some cool offerings.
You have a special, the Virginia Room, I think, assists with the genealogy.
Yeah, our Virginia Room staff are fantastic. So if anyone needs any help with local history research, genealogy, anything related to Virginiana, they are dedicated, ready to help, and enthusiastic about it. And a little preview of something to come. At both the Virginia Room location and our Sherwood Library, we're working on a new initiative called the Memory Depot. And I don't know if you have a box of not junk in your garage, but like
No, I don't.
No, nobody has that.
No one has that.
Nobody
what are you
has
talking
anything stashed in
about?
their garage. But, you know, old memories.
Or my
so
basement, no.
like old film strips, floppy drives, things that you can't access anymore, but that, you know, you have things you want in it. So these memory depots are going to be a place where you can bring old memories on old formats and transition them over to a new format. So if you have an old film strip, you can convert it to your Dropbox account. Or if you have an old 3-inch floppy, you can pop it in and say put it on your flash drive instead. So we're really excited about those. Those will be fun. They're hopefully coming out in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's
I
pretty
know.
cool. It's pretty
but
cool.
nobody has anything like that in their garage, so who knows how long it'll take.
Now, you do have a program where you can actually take apart old equipment too, and so maybe can people donate their old printers or their
that's a
old
good question.
computers?
You know,
or
I'm
have
not
you?
sure where the computers for computer
Well, tell us
reconstruction,
about
where
that.
they come from.
Tell the viewers about that particular
Sure.
program that you have, where kids get to tear apart things.
Right, computer deconstruction. It's a program where they get to take a computer or printer or whatever and kind of take it apart to learn how it works, basically, kind of see the inside workings of it. It's like a STEM type program where they're sort of thinking in terms of science and tech and really using their brains, and it's very cool, very cool.
Yeah, and typically we've asked for donations from surplus items, but maybe if it gets popular enough, we might have to reach out to the public, and once you've got all your old memories off of it, we'd love to take it and turn it into all kinds of little tiny pieces.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And we always put a nice tarp down wherever we're doing it so that no one will get stepped on with little tiny crunchy pieces.
Yeah, well, that's good thinking ahead. No hammers, but probably screwdrivers are okay.
Screwdrivers are fine. Tiny hammers are okay.
Tiny hammers are.
Tiny hammers.
It's really funny because it's fabulous because the library, when we have these archaic images of what the library once was, and now it's really this community center, community building place where so many things happen, and it's to watch the evolution. When you were learning library science, did you imagine that it would evolve into what it has become?
What a
I'll
good
let Ted go
question.
first.
What a good question. Because I got my degree back in 1990, so I guess I should answer that first, shouldn't I? I remember back then they were talking about, the library without walls, and the librarian would be a person in front of a computer only. That's what they would be doing, kind of reaching out to the world that way.
Yeah.
And they were talking about that back in 1990. Like that was coming in the next decade, And of course, it did kind of, but of course we still certainly have libraries. We have the physical buildings and we have the people and all that. So I don't know. I remember when I was in library school, we were starting, learning the tech was part of the program now at that point. So we were learning, not Microsoft Word, but the similar kinds of programs of that day, and the spreadsheets and the database programs and things like that. But it was new then. But they were talking about, is the building going to go away? Are we not going to have a building anymore? I remember that was a big thing.
Yeah, I remember the 90s.
Yeah.
And
Oh man.
in college, when we had to, do research paper, we had to go. It wasn't microfiche. It was actually database, but it wasn't the internet.
Right,
and so,
right.
and so that my vision of the future then was more, having to dig through these very complicated and difficult databases,
Yes.
and that was how you
Yeah.
get. So it obviously has evolved to a much more. You can Google anything now; it's not a problem. But
Yeah, so if you fast forward a little bit of time from 1990, I'm sorry. I was able to complete the entirety of my master's in library science program online. I never had to go to campus unless I wanted to for commencement, which I opted not to. So I had a very different experience going to library school than Ted and many of my colleagues and contemporaries have. I started using libraries at a point when we still had card catalogs and we're just transitioning to computers and the internet. But by the time I went to library school, the profession, while still kind of coming up over the edge, was very aware that our job is based both in books and in technology. That is part and parcel now. You can't get away from it. And it wasn't looking at it as, I'm a librarian, I'll be behind a screen and connecting people through that. It was instead, I'm out in front of the screen, and how can I help all of these people in my community or in my facility connect with information in whatever form they want to take it in. So if you are a traditionalist and you love a hardback book, we have those. And if you just want an ebook because you're going on a Caribbean vacation, we've got that too. And if you need staff help we've got experts. But when I went to library school, it was all about how can you meet users' needs regardless of format. And I think it's been a little while, but I think that's still where we're angling towards. I don't want to give away when I went to library school.
Don't have to disclose everything here. But what does the library of the future look to you now? What is your
Oh my!
wildest guess?
Wow. Did we go there?
Should we go 50 or 100 years out?
Oh, let's do 50, because 50 is still, I think we might still all be there in 50 years. Cyborg,
Right.
maybe.
Cyborg versions
we'll be there.
of us.
We'll be there.
Right. Right.
If I think about the evolution of libraries and the changes, it's all information based. Some of it's books, some of it's media, some of it's technology. So whatever that next thing is, librarians are still going to be there collecting information and then disseminating information. So I don't know what the content, I don't know what the casing is going to look like,
Right.
but I know we'll still be there and doing it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there's
I
still
don't
going to
know.
be a social component. You know, we're still going to want to be connecting with each other and with writers. And
Yes.
you know, I really do. So I
Agreed.
think there's, even if we're not in the same place, we're still going to be connecting like crazy, and libraries will be part of that.
Agreed.
And librarians.
And librarians.
And librarians, of course.
We love what we do.
We do,
We think that
we do.
what we do is really important.
Yeah.
We know that the community thinks that as well. We can't have the millions of users and circulations we have every year without knowing that.
Right.
So if 50 years down the road we're all in little flying jets and cars and we're transporting information to you telekinetically,
Wow.
that's fine too. We're down for it. We will ride that wave when it gets here.
Well,
Sounds
let's land it there, and we'll go together to the future. And thank you so much for being with me here today. It's been
You're so
a real
welcome.
pleasure, Ted
It was
and
wonderful.
Jessica. And thank you for watching AAUW.